All right, hello Parity people, and welcome back to the Parity Game Simulator live stream. As you can see, I'm not by myself today. I'm pleased to welcome Jeffrey Seaborn, everybody's favorite Parity podcast host, to the stream. So, Jeffrey, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, thanks for having me. I feel some sort of responsibility in causing this whole endeavor to have been kicked off. But I would like to point out that nobody for a second believed that I would be the one to help keep this show on the rails.
Yeah, well, I don't have too high of standards for you. I just thought this would be good to add a little bit more personality to the stream, because it's a lot of numbers and made up Frisbee. So I'm glad you're here, and this is also a bit of a test, because I think ideally in the long term we might be able to bring some more people on. There's a lot of space on this screen for some more talking heads. So I should say, if you're watching now and you think you'd be a great addition to our panel, let me know, and we'll see if we can add some more people in the future. And also, I should mention that people might notice it's a bit of a new look. I spent the last few days rapidly learning as much as I could about live streaming, so I've got some cool stock video in the background.
Nerd.
Yeah. No, it's been a lot of fun. So I should say again, thank you for joining us. We already have at least a dozen people watching, so this is already better than last week. Thanks all for tuning in. Great news. I know a lot of you weren't hesitating to join the comments last time around, which is great. I'd love to see your comments there. This time, because I've got help, Jeffrey's going to be keeping a keen eye on the comments, and so if you have anything you want him to know, you write it there, and he'll make sure that it gets brought up on the stream. So we'll do our best to stay engaged with you. How does it feel to be on this side of the screen this week, Jeffrey?
Even though these are all my people, and this is the part of Frisbee that I live for, is the talking about it and chirping things. It's sort of nerve-wracking, I'm going to admit. I don't have the benefits of, an hour of editing to make myself sound less dumb.
That's true. So this is all live, so any mistakes you make, you don't get to back out. So on that note, we should probably keep the banter to a minimum. There are a couple of things I just wanted to mention before we jump into the action, because there's going to be a lot of action this week, I'm sure. I just wanted to basically say that this stream it's a constant work in progress. This is kind of just a bit of a lark, and I want to make it as fun and engaging for Parity people as possible. So if you do have feedback, please let us know either in the comments now or afterwards. I know I've already had quite a few people say they want it to be longer, so instead of kind of rushing through the games, drag out the simulations a bit. I'm happy to do that, but I've been trying to keep this kind of half an hour to 45 minutes, so there's a trade-off. So I don't know, if everyone feels strongly one way or another, we can adjust. We can make them longer or shorter. In terms of music, I mentioned this last week, but this is just a royalty-free Spotify playlist, so if you have other royalty-free music for us, let us know, and I'm happy to be your DJ. So that's kind of the housekeeping bits. What do you say we have a look at the games that we're playing this week?
I'm looking forward to it. It saves us from being called nerds in the chat right now on the sideline.
Oh yeah, see, that's how you know we're talking too long, is when we're getting heckled. We got to get to the game so that we can start heckling the virtual players. So here you go. You can see our 5 games tonight. 3 late slots again. So things are probably going to get a little bit hairy as the games wear on. I don't actually have the standings available for us immediately, but I do know that Team Morgan and Team Sully, who are playing first and last respectively, do lead the standings right now. So they're the teams to beat. But we'll see how it goes when they come up against some new competition, because we had some big trades. And maybe we should pop over to those trades. Now, this is news to everyone who's not a GM. I didn't actually post it this week. Add a little bit of an incentive to tune into the live stream. So I've pulled it up, and there's a lot of names here. I'll be the first to admit it.
Wow.
You probably can't read all of this. There a real flurry of activity, almost 24 trades. The GMs were busy. And I should say right at the start that, Jeffrey, you were one of the victims this week. You were traded from Mehmet's team to Julia's team. How does that feel?
Well, now that I've gotten over the initial outrage, having learned about this news earlier this afternoon, it's fine. I look forward to playing on a new team. Part of what I really like about Parity is the fact that you can do that you move from team to team and you get to play with a bunch of different people. And presumably then this might afford me the opportunity to play against Mehmet in a future game or a future non-game and give him his comeuppance.
Yeah, well, we should talk about Team Julia, because she added or changed over 8 of her 12 players. And a little bit of intel here, and maybe she can add some more details in the comments if she's watching. But Julia has gone for the strategy of the all lefty team. So she has tried to acquire as many lefties as she can and put them all on one
Amazing.
team. So we'll see how that works. Now, notably, there's one important holdout, lefty, who's not on her team, at least one. But the one I want to talk about is Morgan, who's a GM. And there was some talk amongst the GMs of can we trade GMs to new teams? I, as the kind of cold-hearted commissioner, said not yet. But let us know what you think in the comments. If this is something that the league thinks would be more fun than confusing, then we'll let the GMs go wild and trade themselves to different teams. So let us know what you think, because right now, I'm not letting that happen, but we might see Morgan on Team Julia before too long. Now, there is one other team I wanted to talk about in this big mess of trades, and that is a GM who has quite astutely understood the stakes of this new reality, which is that the players that matter aren't necessarily the actual, best team you can put together. You have to understand how the algorithm works. And GM Sully has put together a strategy of trying to get his player Bo to win the assist leaderboard this season. And he's done that by trying to acquire as many pure receivers as he can to kind of game the algorithm to create targets for Bo. So I honestly don't know how well that's going to work, but we're going to find out in our last game of the night. So
I look forward to that.
Yeah, so a lot of excitement in this early stage. So I know, I would say if we're starting our MVP watch about the halfway point of the season, I'd throw Bo on there. If you have nothing else to say about these particular trades, or maybe there's too much to say, I think we should probably hop into our first game.
Let's.
Okay, so our first game is between Team Morgan, who we just mentioned, JT got us Fallin in Love, and Ratioxoxo, GM Kindha. And we did this last week, and I think I'd like to do it again. Before we hop right into the official simulation, which we'll get to, I know everyone's keen to watch the official simulation, we're going to do a little preview of what might happen between these two teams. So what I'm doing right now in the background is running a 20-game simulation between these two teams. So this is all happening. I didn't do this in advance. I don't know what these numbers are going to be. And there you go. There are the results of the simulation. So we ran 20 games, and in those 20 games, Kindha's team won 10 of them, Morgan's team won 8, and 2 games were tied. So at a glance, looks like we got a pretty even matchup here. Is that what you'd say, Jeffrey, looking at these rosters?
Having had only the briefest of warning and looking down the rosters, that seems fairly okay. Back and forth. The slight edge to Kindha and the away team, but I wonder, will that be enough to overcome the Team 1 bias that we saw last week?
Yeah, I know. There were some some speculation about a Team 1 bias last week. So, I mean, hopefully that doesn't repeat itself. Oh, well, who knows? You know, this is, I guess we're going to find out. So, without any further ado, here we're going to go with our first official simulation of the night between Morgan and Kindha. And we're off. So,
wow, right
you
away.
might notice, while we trade points early in this game, we've added some features. We've spruced up the live experience a little bit, so you can see who the active players are highlighted and where the disc is moving. We've also slowed the simulation down a little bit. It's now 2 seconds on a goal, slowed down the action a little bit. Still, I know too fast to kind of follow everything that's happening, but this way the sims take kind of 2.5 minutes. And we can get through all of them in the next half hour. Otherwise, you know, we could do it in real time, but it would take about 6 hours or something to watch all this all together.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah. So what's happening in this game so far? It looks pretty even early on. Morgan now with a couple breaks to take a 3-goal lead, and now a 4-goal lead.
Ooh, 4. Oh.
Kindha trying to get back into it. Now again, we did see in our preview that these teams looked pretty evenly matched. But it doesn't mean we can't have a lopsided score, as you well know. Even two evenly matched teams, one of them can just kind of fall apart. And unfortunately, that's usually more often the case than one team really excelling in Parity League. So we've
not all of us are professionals.
Well, most of us aren't. Although there is one player in this game, Greg Ellis, who is a professional, at least one.
Yeah.
And we get to halftime, and it's a relatively close game, but Morgan took an early lead and has mostly hung on to it. It's now a 3-goal difference at this stage. And there we go, Greg Ellis, just like we talked about with the goal for the break. Yeah, he's definitely a key player for Ratioxoxo. There's Jesse Robinson getting in on the action to narrow the score to 1. Greg Ellis again getting involved, but still Team Morgan maintaining that gap, and Wing scores a break. It's an important break now. We're just about 16 minutes left in the game, and it's a 3-goal game. Ooh, and Lance with the break. So that's going to make it hard now for Kindha to crawl back into this thing. Jesse Robinson doing her best, sets up Tom to Matt Skynes. Yeah, an important goal there. Still 2-0 game. It's not too late to come back here. Long point now. Oh, and a turnover. So this is Kindha with the chance to break, and they do. Jesse Robinson to Etienne. So now it's a 1-goal game with just 5 minutes to play. And, an important hold for Morgan. So Kindha needs a quick hold and then a quick break, but it's not there. In fact, it's a turnover. Hogo gets the block and picks it up, passes to Corinne. Corinne completes the pass to Christo for a break to end the game. So you heard our horn there. The game finished with a final score of 21-18. So congrats, Team Morgan, if you're watching at home, and better luck next time to Team Kindha. Now we're going to pop over to another new feature we've got on the stream. We're just full of new features. This is how I spent my Easter when I wasn't doing childcare. And that's our stars of the game. So instead of giving you that whole spreadsheet that you can't read, we're still going to make all that data available. So that public folder is still going to get all the PDF game reports, so don't worry. But after the simulations, we're just going to pull out some of the key performers. So our number 1 star of the game was Matt Hogo. Look at that. 4 goals, 3 assists, but incredibly 6 second assists. So he was directly involved in more than half of Team Morgan's goals, 37 touches, and no throwaways. That's a monster line. On the other side, I know
171,000.
That's a ridiculous game. Now, we talked a lot about Greg Ellis, but it was actually Etienne and Jesse who were leading the charge for Kindha in the losing effort. Notably, Jesse Robinson, look at that, 7 of 10 on break opportunities, so she was really effective playing defense. And who's our breakout player of the game?
Oh, the best Alessandro, coming out with 4 assists, 4 D blocks, a couple of throwaways, but these things happen. He did his part trying to keep the game close, keep his team in it. Maybe next week do a little bit better at holding on to the virtual disc once you get it. Maybe untimely turnovers late in the stretch from what I could see on the play-by-play that maybe ultimately doomed Kindha's comeback hopes.
Yeah. All right, so that's our first game in the books. What are our commenters saying, Jeffrey?
Seeing a lot of, shiny new UI comments. which, I mean, some of the stuff is even new to me, having seen it, like at least the first iteration of it this afternoon, and proposing a change and you saying, oh, no, there's no way we can do that. That's never going to happen. We don't have time. And yet, here it is. So that's, everybody seemed to be, there's a little bit of, tension in the crowd as that one played out. And, we'll see. Brian Perry lying to people, the usual.
It's been known to happen. We'll see when we get to his game. Let's see if that karma pans out for him. Oh. So let's go back to our schedule. So we're now done game one, and I know all that hashtag Team One bias crowd is going to be up in arms about this.
1 for 1.
Yeah, the home team wins the first game in a relatively close game, although Morgan led early and never really gave up that lead, although Kindha got it as close as 1. And, well, look at that. Speaking of Brian Perry, he's right on the docket in a game against Team Nat, Reason to Love Ottawa number 40, against How to Lose a Disc in 10 Stalls. So why don't we'll hop over to our simulator and tell us, Jeffrey, who you think the favorite is going into this one.
Oh, I like how you've thrown this over to me with no prior preparation. Normally, I rely on looking at what you've got to decide for that. Yeah. No, I'm looking at the rosters right now. Well, I'm running it in the background,
so we're about to see the results.
And
but look at that, pretty lopsided. The simulator likes Brian here in about two-thirds of the games. So that makes I would say Brian looks like a pretty heavy favorite against Nat. But chime in the comments if you disagree, because we're about to find out. As we learned last time, anything can happen. The favorite doesn't always win. And in fact, I think in that first game, the favorite lost, although it was a pretty close prediction. So without any further ado, here we go with Team Nat versus Team Brian, our second official simulation of the night. And we're off.
A break right out the gate.
2 breaks right out of the gate.
Oh.
So that could come back to haunt Team Brian. So they came in maybe a little bit overconfident after seeing that prediction. But here they go. They've given up an early lead. And another break. Steph jacketing on the scoreboard. And another one. Oh, no. So the wheels really look like they're falling off early.
Well, it's early. It's early yet. Yeah. Let's not get carried away.
Yeah. Brian Perry himself gets the goal there, but Nat fights back with the hold. We're seeing a lot of great involvement. And Nat Mullen really leading the charge for her team, getting very involved with the disc. It's kind of, this visualization does make it a little bit easier to follow the play as quick as it is.
You can at least see the back and forth. And it's worth noting that Virtual Nat had an absolute howler of a game last week. So she's probably keen to avoid repeating that.
Yeah, well, as I recall, she had 5 assists but 7 throwaways last week. So I'm sure she wants to keep throwing those goals, those passes to the end zone, but maybe with fewer incompletions. Now this game does seem to have settled into a bit of a rhythm. Brian's team seems to have found their feet. And look at that, they've brought the game back to 1 after falling behind early. So it's 11-8 at the half, Team Nat leading. But lots of time to play in this game. And when you look at the talent on How to Lose a Disc in 10 Stalls, you wouldn't be surprised if they can come back into this thing. Now, at a glance, it looks like Alistair Campbell is having a great game. I've seen him involved in a number of goals, very involved in the play. Doing his best to get his team back into it. But the gap has actually not narrowed as we approach the hour mark. Still 2 goals, but now 3 goals.
A quick one back, yeah.
Back and forth here, some really quick goals. So both teams have adopted the huck and hope strategy. As we come to the 15 minutes to play, Nat's still holding that lead. Brian's going to have to do something special, but it's going the other way now. With 10 minutes to play, it's a 5-goal lead.
And that tends to happen when you're running late and you got to start pushing it to
taking chances, and it looks like they just didn't pay off. Now a 5-goal lead. I think this game is probably done, and we're just waiting for the last minute. And there's the horn.
There it is.
Yeah, there's the horn. So good job. Reason to Love Ottawa number 40 hangs on for the win, taking that early lead. Those first few breaks, I think, were the difference because basically the teams traded points for the rest of it.
Yeah, no, it seemed once we got over the initial, angst perhaps of playing in prime time with the most people watching on the sidelines that. Nat was able to weather the nerves at the beginning, get a quick break or two, and then ride that out for the rest of the game.
Yeah. So let's pop over to our stars of the game. And look at that, Brian Perry. So you can't fault him for not trying to do his best to lead by example. He did have 4 goals, 4 assists, and 5 second assists. So really getting involved in the play. Actually, only 26 touches, which is quite remarkable for Brian Perry. So maybe he wasn't picking the disc up that often, and instead was kind of that initiating cutter. And a pretty good defensive conversion rate, so he was doing his best on defense. But look at this, in a winning effort, Michael Davidson, 6 goals and 3 assists with no turnovers. So that's a monster. I know he's the second star here, but I'd be inclined to give him the MVP on the night.
He's delightful.
Yeah, and Gala with a great game as well in the losing effort, but pitching in with 2 goals, 2 assists, a D, and also pretty good defensive conversion rate. And our breakout player of the game, Johnny Champagne.
Everybody's favorite. He's not always the highest value player, but he's one of the hardest working players on the field and definitely shows up in the stat line today. 2 goals and a second assist and 5 Ds. It's amazing, Johnny.
Yeah, so Johnny was working out there. Good for him, and that's maybe a big reason why his team pulled out the win here. So congrats, Nat. What do our commenters have to say, Jefford?
Oh, classic team win. Team won bias here. It's not getting away from that. But we are, people are concerned about seeing the full stat lines, and Pirate wants to know, who's leading the league in drops because for some reason he's very negative about these things. Why would you want to know that, Travis? It's not nice.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll tell you. We weren't necessarily going to do this, but what I'm going to do is I can throw up those PDFs, the actual full stat results from those games. I'll put them in the public folder, and then as you're watching, you can have a look. The link is in the YouTube video description, so if you just scroll down, you'll be able to see them. And yeah, we'll try and think of a way to make it. It's hard. We had kind of some of the feedback after the first session was too many numbers, so try to pare it back a bit. But we don't want to deprive our very nerdy, stat-oriented crowd from their stats. So
yeah, no, it's like we can't. Our league is based entirely on these numbers, and then you suddenly, not only is the game ripped away from us, you're going to rip away our numbers too. No, I think that in this venue, the pared down numbers, it's quick to talk about. We can keep things moving, but having the sum total of the data available for everyone to see, I think is super.
Yeah, so we'll do our best to get a proper leaderboard together before the next live stream, and something that we can share on the forum and so on. Because yeah, of course we want to know who's leading the league in drops and so on. Okay, so I've thrown up those PDFs in that Dropbox folder. I haven't renamed them, so you're just gonna have to sort through the like serial numbers.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to look for that now. You want to wait and see who's coming up in the next game.
That's right, because we've got some more action, and this is frankly the game I'm most excited about. Not simply because I'm playing in it, but because we get to see this lefty team in action. So we talked about this earlier in the stream, that GM Julia's strategy in making almost a dozen trades this week was to get all the lefties in the league onto her roster. So we're going to see how those lefties play together. Do you have any predictions? I mean, what is the gimmick aside? I mean, what's the advantage of a lefty thrower?
Well, I mean, I use it to great advantage because I mostly throw right-handed, and so the lefty comes out and it sort of fools people. But yeah, I mean, generally you're going to force I always want to force a backhand indoors to mostly right-handed players to try and reduce the number of hammers being thrown, because hammers win games and they're perfectly valid throws on stall one. I don't care what you're saying. But if all of a sudden you throw a whole bunch of lefties in the mix, then it's a bit more difficult to adapt. not too difficult, but now you've got to force the other way to do that. And so maybe there's a bit of an advantage to be found there. I mean, I'm just looking down the roster, and like I would be excited to take the field with this team, even if I was only allowed to throw with my left hand.
So what I'm thinking, and I'm now running our 20 simulations in the background. We'll see the results of that shortly. A lot of the advantage of being a lefty in Ultimate is that no one else is, and so you're always going to have the throw that they don't want you to have. But if the whole team is lefties, that makes team defense a little bit easier against it. And look at this though. Wow. So in our little prediction lottery, Julia looks like the heavy favorite here. So the lefties winning 13 of our simulated games. Wow. So Team MAnge, which is my own team, is perhaps up against the ropes. Although we did see in that last simulation again, the underdog pulled out the win.
True, and we did see a very heavy favorite lose last week, and in convincing fashion. So,
yeah,
hopefully my virtual self will not take this game lightly, and will be a little more careful in possession than normal.
Well, on that note, let's get into it. And we're off, and MAnge, love.
Oh, starting well.
Wait, did you score? Did I miss that?
I just assisted John Haig.
Okay.
Big fan.
Yeah, I mean, John Haig, very undervalued in Parity right now. He's only like $40,000 in salary. But in virtual Parity, that means he's exactly accurately valued. So one of the fun things about the simulation is, it doesn't matter what your pedigree is. Like, if you didn't put up big numbers in the first few weeks of this Parity season, you're only worth as much as you performed on the stat sheet. So we'll see what happens with players like John Haig. But right now it's a close game. MAnge with an important break there to narrow the gap. And another one. So there's Kevin to Hadrian, the coordinator connection to tie the game.
Well done.
Julie gets the hold. And a bit of a long point here. Look at this. Lots of movement. And it's all flowing through Patrick Kenzie, as it so often does.
Yes.
But eventually, this comes back to MAnge for the hold. Alicia with a quick goal there. Muscle gets on the score sheet. So this is a pretty close game. Considering we were expecting maybe a blowout, here we are tied at the half-hour mark.
Tied at 8, nice.
And a
2
break.
goals from
Craig Anderson
Hadrian.
to Landry to take the lead. Julia Riddick getting a goal for her team to tie it up again.
So we're back on serve then.
It looks that way. Look at this, a tight game, 10-10. And
the kind you always want to be a part of.
Yeah, and look at that. So Kevin Hughes to Adam McDonald to take the lead for the halftime. So coming in at a half, a hold for Team Julia. And wow, this is really going back and forth. Most of the simulations we've watched have been a little bit streaky, but in this game, it's really back and forth now, and actually quite low scoring. So the defense has really dialed it in the second half. And still a tie game with about 21 minutes left.
About 20 minutes, but you're down a break.
Yeah, down a break now, so that's important. So that's my throw to Kim Kennedy to tie it. But Team Julia's up the break now, so holds aren't going to be enough. We're going to need some D from MAnge. But a turnover, a lot of turnovers, a long point here, dragging on. Oh my goodness, what is it?
Everyone's getting tired.
A late game. This is our first 9 p.m. game. Wow, and that's a big break for Team Julia with 10 minutes to go, and another one.
And another.
So it looks like that long point really took the wind out of the sails of Team MAnge.
Oh, still 5 minutes to play.
5 minutes and a 2-point gap. There's going to need to be some quick breaks, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Another turnover.
Yeah. So.
Look at that. We can see Hadrian Mertins-Kirkwood threw it away.
Yep. Chris Tran sets me up for a nice goal, but it's too little, too late. So the favorite holds on to win this one. Team Julia finishes the game 21-18. Let's pop over to our stars of the game. And look at that, Alex McCardo with a big game. 5 goals, 4 assists.
Big fan.
Yeah. One of the new additions, like most of the team, one of the new additions for Julian. He had a monster performance with no throwaways. MAnge got a great game out of Kevin Hughes. He started the season a little slow, and I know there were comments in the GM circles about how undervalued he was, but he's really picked it up in the last few weeks. Look at this, 3-3 and no turns. So it's a great game. Hannah Lewis putting in work as well in the winning effort. 29 touches, so really anchoring the offense there. for Julia's team. And we mentioned him at the end, but Chris Tran is the breakout player of the game.
Dr. Tran, a goal and assist, a second and a D, 28 touches.
28 touches, wow. So that's great involvement.
So he was getting involved,
for Chris. So there you have it, 20-18. So it looks like our allegations of Team 1 bias continue
really,
here.
3 for 3. So, I mean, like, let's not, until we finish all the games, let's not get carried away. Because, you know, when there's only 2 teams involved, you would expect that, 3 teams are going to win and the other 2 are going to win the other 2. So, I won't be accusing you of bias until I see this next game. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
What are our fans saying in the comment?
Well, there was we're
our
talking
dozen
about
of viewers.
Our dozen, 21 is as of this second. The Team 1 bias. MAnge getting on the Hammers win games train. Excellent, and it's a little background info that. Apparently, Julia was a little reluctant to accept me on her team because I wasn't a, quote, real lefty, unquote.
Are you a, quote, real lefty, unquote?
Well, I mean, no, really. But, I do throw left-handed from time to time.
You've been known
reasonable
to throw.
effect. People liking how the music seemed to match the intensity of the last game. Everybody seemed entertained by how close a game it was.
Yeah.
And hopefully the rest of the virtual evening goes that way.
Yeah, well, we should get moving with it. It's already 8 o'clock in real time, and I know we don't want to take too much of people's time, but we've got 2 games left to go. And look at this, pretty close games, actually. All of them within a few. So, I don't know, maybe we have another close game in store. Do you have, as I recall, Laura's had a good season so far, has been quite strong, and Al has been struggling a bit, so that'd be my inclination for a favorite. But do you feel differently? Oh.
Well, I mean, it's difficult to tell. I mean, you're looking at like on Laura's side with like players like Charlotte Muscles, like always in the end zone. Martin Cloak, the tallest man in the world. Pirates in there. Kelsey. Cassie Berquist chucking bombs at the end zone all day long. John Rowe maybe could be helpful sometimes. I'm not sure. But on the other side, like Al's got Mike Lee, Justine Dagenet, one of our favorites. The best Alessandro is playing with him as well. So
new addition. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, we're running our prediction simulation, so we'll see.
It feels even to me.
Feels pretty even. Slight edge to Al, but I mentioned this last week, and I should mention it again, that a sample of 20 games is actually not enough to feel very confident in the results of any particular sim. So, moving forward, if we end up trying to make like real betting odds, I'd run maybe 100 or 500 games and see what happens. But anyway, based on this small sample, looks like a pretty even split here. So I know, throw out in the comments if you feel differently, if you think there's a clear favorite here. But we're going to go ahead and start our game.
Let's go.
So here we go. The action has started, and
2 turnovers already.
Yeah, the disc has changed hands quite a few times. And
late games.
Justin Dagenet throws the break early. Both teams on the board now. Kelsey getting the goal there for Laura. And another one. So Kelsey 2 goals already. He's making a difference early in this game. And you mentioned Charlotte Muscles before the start of the game. She gets a break there, and Martin throws another break for Laura. But
so now we're getting back. It's tight now. Back on serve, I believe.
Yeah. So another close start to this game. If you'll recall, last week we had at least one game that was a blowout from the get-go. And I don't think that's happening here. So we've got... Laura's opened up a bit of a lead. And now another one. So there's Charlotte Muscles really getting involved on the defense with another break goal. And now John Rowe with the hold. So it's, the players we expect to perform are performing. Ethan Brady with a nice goal there to GML. And there are a couple breaks. Yeah, so this game has narrowed once again. Kelsey with another goal, so he's really having a great game. And there at halftime, it's 13-11 for Laura. But Al with the goal at a half to hold. So we're keeping this thing still pretty close, but Al's going to have to string a few breaks together if he wants any hope of catching up here. But look, there's the break for Laura and another break, and that's bad news for all the single Bladies. Paul Klippenstein getting on the score sheet. GM Laura with a goal there to hold, and another break to Charlotte Muscle. She's having a monstrous defensive performance here. So now at the hour mark, still a 4-goal gap, and I don't know if Al's got enough in the tank to close it. Now up to 5 goals. So Mike Lee doing what he can, but yeah, 4-goal gap, 5 goals. Yep, I don't think we're gonna see it here. Sorry to all those single Bladies, but I think Be My Frisbae is gonna hang on with about 9 minutes left in this thing, and a 4-goal gap. Now up to 5 goals. So yeah, I think Justin Dagenet and Mike Lee doing their best, and another break to make it 3, but the gap is just too big at this stage of the game. And there we go, Alan Godding to Travis Davidson for the winning goal. So there you have it, 26-22. So that was a quite high-scoring game. The edge goes to Laura. Despite it being tight in the first half, Laura opened up a pretty big gap in the second half. So
Team 1 bias.
Yeah, that's our 4th Team 1 win.
Yeah, see, now I'm starting to suspect something.
Yeah, so
and John Rowe in the comments also. Oh, Team 1 finally wins the game.
Yeah, yeah, I really have to just plead randomness here because anyway, I'm not controlling the outcome of these games. Let's pop over to our stars. And Mike Lee, yeah, in a losing effort, has a great game. 5 goals, 4 assists, 30 touches. So he was doing just about everything he could to get his team back in that game with 170K. So that's a great game. Kelsey, I mentioned, I saw at least a handful of his goals. Turns out he had 6 on the night. Wow, look at that, 30 touches. So he was really leading the charge for Laura. And Justine had a great game as well. No turns. And decent defensive rate there, so doing her best. But our breakup player of the game was actually our GM was Laura.
Absolutely, 4 goals, 2 assists on 18 touches. That's pretty good numbers. And 5 for 13 on breaks is even actually slightly better than Justine was doing. So leading the way, playing ahead of I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Leading by example and live stuff is terrible.
Yeah.
From me.
That's okay. We're doing just fine.
We are giving people what they expect.
I know. Well, I think I may have, by adding in our cool stock backgrounds, may have created the illusion of professionalism where none exists.
No.
Any action in the comments?
Once the rosters were announced, Kelsey chiming in with, "We got John Rowe." Sorry, Kelsey, bad luck, comes the retort from Mr. Rowe himself. And no, it's everyone seems to be, having a good time.
Oh, good.
Pirate hoping that Kelsey could be the first to throw it away. We'll have to replay that to see if that actually took place. He only had the one throwaway, so.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Kelsey's a star. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great game. 6-3.
So exceeding expectations.
So there's a sea of blue on our schedule for tonight. So home team has been pulling out a lot of wins here. I mean, maybe we chalk that up to home team advantage, although that doesn't seem to matter too much historically in Parity. I think most people don't know when they're the home team or not.
Usually not.
Usually not. But we do have one more game to play, and it should be an exciting one. I should mention, sorry, as an aside, if you're following us in real time, I did throw up the PDF game reports from the last few games, so if you want to dive into the details, that's there. Otherwise, hang out and wait till the end, and then you can review all that data in more detail, because we've got a game to play, and that's between Team Bo, aka Team Sully, and nice. Team Mehmet, which is your old team.
Yeah. Bunch of losers.
Yeah, is that how you feel? Is that
No, absolutely not. I had a great time playing with them, and it's a ton of fun. I'm like looking at the roster now. It's interesting, with Boucher, Terrio, Deb Murphy on the team now, John Seawick, who weren't there before. Like they should have a great time, playing like Caitlin Fontaine, the first season I got to play with her, and like it was basically our offense should have been get out of her way, because our offense was so much more successful when running through her. Looking on the other side with Sully, basically, Shubo, the man of the hour. So hopefully he can continue his digital domination. Alexandre Tremblay-Larachelle, who we've talked about before, has been playing well. And again, a former teammate, Céline Dumais, I'm looking for a good game from her to stay out, again, clear out, get out of her way. She's going to go to great places.
So we're going to run that simulation now, those 20 games, just to see what we should expect perhaps going into this game. I think Alex is going to be a difference maker. He just got traded, so he's a new addition. And, look at this.
Look at that.
So our most lopsided prediction yet. So maybe GM Sully has found the magic formula for gaming the algorithm. Just get Bo on your team and as many low-touch receivers as possible. And perhaps that'll work, although maybe Mehmet's just paying the price for trading Jeffrey. Of course,
I would have had no impact on this in a positive way.
These predictions don't mean anything. What matters is the real game, and as we've seen, the predictions haven't always been worth that much. So,
true.
With no further ado, here's our final simulation of the night, our final official game of Week 7.
Late game, let's go.
Late game, and we're off. So, let's see what happens. So an early break there for Team Mehmet, and a hold. So an early 2-goal lead for our underdogs here, and as we've seen through most of these simulations, it's those early leads have often held for the duration of the game. But in this case, Team Sully with a bunch of breaks quickly to turn this thing around. So any advantage that when Cranky met Cara has evaporated, and Date Night out to an early lead, but only at the quarter-hour mark. Patrick Mapp getting on the scoreboard. So I think, what we're all watching, certainly I know what Sully's watching at home is, can he get Bo on the assist board? And sure enough, there he is, Bo to Alex, the new addition for the break. Alex to Colin Scarf. As I recall, Colin Scarf had a mittful of goals last week.
Yes, absolutely.
So hoping for a repeat performance from him. There's Bo with another assist.
Oh, that's 3 at least.
So he's, Sully's aspirations of having Bo win the assist leaderboard may yet pan out, although it's still quite early in the season. But as we go into halftime, it's 16-8, which is, maybe not the nail biter we were hoping for. And to make matters worse, I hesitate to say it, but it's the home team again. That's got the advantage. Our team 1 is looking strong as we approach the hour with a 9-goal lead here. So, I don't know. There's Colin getting in the assist board.
Not all precincts are reporting, but I'm willing to call this one for blue for sure.
Yeah, it's going to take a pretty remarkable and unlikely effort at this stage for Mehmet, although there he's doing his best with the pass to Caitlin Fontaine for the goal. But this 11-goal gap does not look to be narrowing with 10 minutes to play. So, wow. Sully with 10 goals. And what's been amazing about Team Sully is that despite a 5-1 record, Sully has really not blown up his salary that much. He's found a way to win convincingly without going overboard on the salary. And there you go. Finishes the game 26-17. GM Sully himself making the final pass to his latest addition, Alex, for the goal. So look at that, a commanding performance from Team Sully.
Wow.
So there you have it. That's our last official score of the night. Let's pop over to our stars of the game. And wow, so we did not talk about him, but Zach Santamore with 7 goals flying under the radar. Wow, what a great performance. And not only 7 goals, but 3 assists and a pair of Ds. So Wow. So when all the focus was on other people, it was look at this, the young Zach Sinamore with a fantastic performance, 175K. That might be the performance of the night from all 10 teams.
And I don't want to interrupt because you're ruling about 17 touches. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Just get him the disc because every time something's going to happen.
Something good happens.
Wow, great performance there from Zach. Patrick Mapp doing his best for Team Mehmet. 3 goals, 3 assists, and a pair of Ds as he so often does, and no turns or no throwaways at least on 31 touches. And Rachel Hurdle having a great night. 3 goals, 6 assists. Wow, holy cow, I missed that. So 9 points for Rachel Hurdle. 6 assists with no throwaways. That's a great night, and she converted more than half of her break opportunities. So big game there for Rachel. And our breakout player of the game, someone you mentioned before the start, Celine Dumais.
Excellent. I'm so happy to see this. Not a high touch player, but definitely a high value per touch player. And if not fake monetarily, at least in my heart, she plays the game the right way. 3 goals, 2 assists on 7 touches. That is the model of efficiency right there.
Yeah, and no turns. That's a fantastic game for Celine. So, way to go. So there we go. I'm gonna just while I throw this PDF over and stuff. Are there any final comments people had in the in our chat?
Oh, I'm seeing. Yeah, there was a lot of expectation for Bo when he came up. It's finally Bo time. Let's go, Bo. Bo for president. Well, I didn't know that was a thing he could do.
So the thing is, Bo did not show up in our stars of the game, but he did have 6 assists for those of you keeping track at home. So another 6 assist night for Bo. He only had 1 throwaway for 100K night. So he put in a performance. He's certainly not going to fall down the assist board with a performance like that.
Certainly not. Some digital shade being thrown by John Rowe. Based on the time invested in making this sim model, I expect Hadrian will spend an equal or greater amount of effort disproving the Team 1 bias. Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. Well,
probably not.
Yeah, well, let's just put that into sharp relief here. So those are your results for the games tonight. It does look a little off at a glance. The Team 1 won every game. So again, our winners tonight were JT got us falling in love. Team Morgan, Nat's team takes the win over Brian. Our lefty team, I think Julia may need to come up with a new punny team name. So I'd encourage her to think about that. Pulls out a close win over Team MAnge. And then our last 2 games of the night, not as close. Laura with a 4-point win over Al, and then Sully with the 9-goal win over Team blowout. Yeah. So Sully's gonna have to be careful. As you folks know, we have got week 8 is gonna happen on Thursday. We're gonna have those games this Thursday, and then your GMs are gonna have their final trade window this coming weekend. So one last chance for trades before we get into our 4 weeks of playoffs. So it's exciting. I don't have the standings and everything ready, so I'm gonna have to build out our from our studio here, being able to pull all that stuff up. But I know that Sully and Morgan, both of whom were at 5-1, are going to now be at 6-1, so they're going to hang on to those top spots in the standings, looking pretty comfortable going into playoffs if they can keep their teams together.
A late breaking chirp from John Kirkwood. He's basically written a new sim, it seems. If team equals 1, then win.
That's my dad getting in on the action with. He's still learning to heckle, but if you'll have patience,
no. I mean, he's that's straight for the fences with that one.
That's good. So nice to have you here, Dad. So I think that's just about it for us, and we actually made this thing almost an hour. So maybe in future we need to be honest with people, say this is going to probably be an hour, and we'll continue to aim for less. So that's just about it for the night. So as I mentioned, all those PDFs with all the full game reports are available in the Dropbox. Again, that link is in the description to this video. So have a look at that. Now, one important thing before I lose everyone is I'd like to put up a summary in the forum. I'll do that hopefully tomorrow at some point. But if you're interested in writing game summaries, let me know. So Chris Keats went above and beyond for the last write-up, but he said he was only going to do that once. And I don't expect full write-ups from anyone. So if you wanted to put together 100 words to describe what happened in one of these games, it can only has to be one, that's fine, or if you want to do more than one, please let me know. It'd be great to get people involved writing up the highlights from these games. So do let me know if you'd be interested in doing something like that. And other than that, I think our next stream is gonna be this Thursday, same time, 7:30. And of course, if you aren't here live, you can always watch the tape. But if you're here live, then you get to make the comments, and one of us might read them on air. So that's hopefully
and
an
won't
incentive.
you feel like the most special person in the world?
Yeah. Well, like I said, to all of our dozen of viewers, it's a pretty great honor to get a shout out on the stream. So I won't drag this out any longer, but thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Jefford, any closing thoughts?
Oh, Hadrian, you've outdone yourself again. Like, this is a remarkable little thing you've put together, and a bunch of effort. That's like when Hadrian asked, like, dear viewers, if you can help out, like, he has like done so much, and let's like throw out a couple things right up, like one or two summaries. We should maybe get a spreadsheet, get the volunteer spreadsheet back up and running, and instead of pushing buttons for a game, it's you volunteer to do a write-up for a game, and so you can look ahead and you can see which games are coming up, what players you like to heckle the most, and you can set yourself up for an opportunity to do that.
Wow, so Jefford's thrown down the gauntlet. No pressure, but yeah, if you want to help out, I'm happy to have some help. Again, we want to make this as kind of fun and engaging for the parody community as we can during this quite difficult time. We're trying to keep the tone upbeat here, but we all kind of help each other get through this. So anyway, even if all you can do is watch the stream and throw some comments in the chat, that's great. And I think that's it. So thanks again, everyone. Thanks again, Jefford, for joining, and looking forward to seeing you folks on Thursday.